Jared Blevins here with one of the most difficult workouts I think I have ever done. The pause squats on this day is really what just destroyed me. I figured I'd talked earlier this week, I think, about some of the shoulder setting that I was doing. My shoulders have felt a little off and a little bit more shoulder impingement and clicking and popping on my bench presses lately. So I think that's due to the rep of 501 where I really got sideways on it in this last competition. In any case, this is what I do to help set my shoulders. I'll get a heavy, or this actually might just be a light jump stretch band. I'm not 100%. But I stretch it out about as far as I can without it pulling me backwards. And I put it right on top of my shoulder and lock out my arm as best I can and try to rotate the shoulder back and forth. And as this does this, you see how much strain there was on the band there. It flipped me around. That strain pushes into your shoulder and sets the bone deeper in the socket. I'll then, on this day, usually I don't do band pull-aparts anymore. I've been using the shoulder rock primarily. But today I just decided to throw a few of them in there just to kind of make sure that the shoulder's moving pretty well. And for me, that's pretty good mobility. Setting my shoulders usually allows me to almost immediately have a better range of motion. So after that, I'm trying to remember what I do. I think I do my leg swings after that. Make sure my neck is loose. But I'll do these leg swings. These help me activate my hip flexor a little bit. I try to pull my leg up at the end. And I try to keep my knee as straight as I can, but it's a little hard to do that. And I try to get higher on each rep and try to move and swing into it as best I can, but it kind of just goes back and forth. You can see some of my stiffness as when I try to cross my leg, cross the other one at the bottom, I have to twist my whole hips around. That's just one, lack of flexibility, also just starting to get more muscle in my hips. It just makes it harder to get good mobility and good stretches sometimes. My knees pop a little bit sometimes, so I will go back and forth, just kind of kicking my leg out there. That'll help my knees make sure they're in the right spot. For some reason, when I crack my knees or anything like that or get a little pop, it just feels a lot better afterwards. It's like cracking your knuckles almost. You can see my lack of shoulder mobility here as well, but this is actually pretty good for me. And these overhead squats, band assisted, sometimes I'll do, just 4 or 5. Sometimes I'll do a couple of sets of 10. Just depends on how I'm feeling that day. On this day, I felt pretty good. I then, as I've noted, have incorporated the shoulder rock into my warm-up. This is something I actually really like. I think it helps me get my hands in on the squat bar at least 1 to 2 inches right off the bat. And I'm still working on my form. You see I have a little bit of torso movement and a little bit of arching in my lower back. Really, I would want to move my shoulders back further and not round my back as much or bend my knees. But I'm still learning to use the device and work with it. But I do like it quite a bit. It is a little expensive and pricey just for a warm-up for your shoulders. However, I have not yet been able to assess any sort of long-term benefits, and maybe in the long run it's worth it. Also, if you can improve your hand placement on squats and keep your shoulders healthy for bench, that's really a valuable tool. You're talking about maybe like 1 round of physical therapy would about equal the cost of the shoulder rock. So, think about it. For all those people out there, whoever you are, who money is of no object, definitely get it and test it out. I received the question on a previous video if a sledgehammer or something would do the same thing. I have no idea. Chris Duffin has a video somewhere where he's discussing the shoulder rock, and he addresses how some people will use sledgehammers, but he makes some mention of how the weighting of his particular device, the length of the handle, and some of the other options with it, one, that you can change the weight, make a big difference. I think the shoulder rock itself is about 8 or 9 pounds, and then I'm adding 5 pounds to it, so it's a little different, I think, than a sledgehammer. You'll notice my walkout is a little different than usual. This is because I'm working on really getting a 3-step walkout that's solid. That's something my coach, Hanny from TSA, has told me I need to work on, and I think he's on point with that. So, still feeling really awkward with this walkout. My breathing is different, bracing gets a little off on it, but I'm sure it's something that I'll get more comfortable with as I practice it. These pause squats were horrible. I will just say that. This is 455, and my goodness, 6 sets of 6 was maybe the hardest thing I've ever had to do. I did count the first set of 405 that I did, beltless is my first working set, and then did 5 sets of 6 reps after that. I probably took 5 to 6 minutes in between each set, and that kept growing until the last set. And after the last set, my lower back was pumped up so much I just had to lay on the ground for at least 10 minutes before the cramping would subside. It was hard to roll the bench in even to get it set up. And again, it wasn't a muscular injury or that I was hurt. It was just the muscle was so tired and fatigued. It was just done. So these really beat me up pretty good. 6 sets of 6 is a hard amount of volume. Doing a 3x10 leaves you with 30 reps. 6x6 is 36 working reps. And if you're doing 6s instead of 10s, you're going to have a lot heavier weight on the bar. It is a brutal way to amass volume. I think from my warm-ups to the end of my squatting where I'd gotten the bench set up, I think was an hour. So an hour of time devoted to this 6x6. And again, that was because of how long my rest periods were. But there was no way for me to move faster in my rest periods either. I was just burned out. As far as form on these, I'm still working on where to put my feet when I unrack the weight. Usually I set up with my feet a little bit too far back, and so I need to be able to just stand up tall right out of the rack, let the weight settle. I feel most comfortable taking a step back with my left foot, then a step back with my right foot, and then I take a sideways step with my left foot to get the stance width that I want. I was squatting a little bit narrower on this day and have been squatting with a little bit more narrow foot position lately. However, I'm going to mess around with that and make some minor adjustments. I think I used to squat with my feet a little bit wider, but due to my lack of kind of precision in setting up on the squat, I would get different feet placement every once in a while. I'm also going to work on getting my knees locked out a little bit more as I walk these out. I have a little bit of bending in the knees, and I think maybe a smaller step back with my left foot will help me overall with this. As far as the weight felt on these, it was rough. Some reps felt really heavy, others didn't. I was trying hard on this day both to push with my legs and push my chest and shoulders back up against the bar. So both pushing into the ground and pushing up with my chest at the same time. And that just feels a lot harder. It was nice to finish those and get them over with. Followed up with a 5x5 with 365. I think I kept the weight static on all of these. This was a pretty brutal amount of volume for me on bench press. And my bench press strength has just felt off this from coming off of this competition. Again, that has to do with my shoulders. My shoulders just don't feel quite right. I had some cramping underneath my right shoulder blade as I was setting up. I was retracting my scapula together and getting those set up, and had some cramping in the muscles and some of the trap area by my right shoulder blade. And so I know there's some instability there. I'll just have to keep watching it. Yet as of now, I don't think I have any sort of injuries. It's just general fatigue that comes along with training. It's good to learn the difference between being beat up, being hurt, and being injured, because those are all very different things. If you're in a volume block of training, you are going to get beat up. Like, if you're not getting beat up, you're not doing it right. You shouldn't, however, be getting hurt. However, oftentimes there's going to be some sort of elbow pain or knee pain or something that's where you're kind of hurt, but you can train around it. And then there's injury. And injury is where you can't train that muscle really at all. You can't work around it. You're just out, and you're going to have to either have some sort of a surgery done, or you have to be in a non-lifting rehabilitative sort of situation. So I am subjecting you all, by the way, in case you haven't noticed, this is a 15-minute video. I put it all out as far as sets and reps, except for the assistance work. It is all in here. And this is some brutal volume accumulation. But I do believe that if I'm going to start forcing my body to grow some more muscle and make some more adaptations, that I'm going to have these periods, especially early on in training, where I'm pushing hard. And even though the weights are relatively light to what I use most of the time, this type of training is weird for me. I'm not used to it, and especially coming out of a low volume phase leading into a meet, this is a shock to the system. These were supposed to be pause deadlifts. I knew with my lower back situation that there was no way I was going to have the lower back fortitude to brace and do paused reps. So I'm going to be talking with my coach to see if we can just switch these to either straight up conventional pulls or this kind of hybrid stance that I worked today, which I really enjoyed. It let me utilize some of the hip and glute muscles that I don't usually get to activate when I'm doing a conventional pull, which is more for me lower back and some hamstring work. This setup right here with this close sumo allows me to practice breaking the floor by pushing out with my feet. You'll see here on this first rep especially, it's almost a two-move lift. There's the out, and then you see the weight accelerate as I bring my quads really into it and pull all the way through the top. I'm actually breaking the floor just by trying to push my feet apart from each other. And so right when it gets about to the knee, that's when I start with the quads more and pull back all the way. And this is something that I'm trying to have transfer over into my sumo as well. I know that when I've had my best block pulls and my strongest pulls with my sumo deadlift, it's when I've been more patient, worked myself into a good position, and then spread the floor to start the lift. That allows me to have my hips come back slightly, but at the same time it allows my shin angle to get vertical, and I keep my chest up through that whole process. When all those three really come together, I'm in a great position to pull sumo from. On this last set, just kind of so I could see the difference between my three stances, I started with 2 reps of conventional and followed up with 2 of these narrow kind of hybrid sumo stance deadlifts, which feel stronger than conventional, though not as strong as my all the way out full sumo stance, which I then do, I believe, the last 2 reps in my full sumo. And I'm looking forward. We'll have some more footage. I'll have some more stuff up here in a couple of days for my sumo deadlift workout day, which I'm very interested to see how it goes, trying some of these new techniques. If you're not subscribed to supertraining.tv, it's a good channel. It has a lot of good information on it. Ed Cohen just was on there teaching both how to sumo and how to do conventional deadlifts. And well, you notice the difference there in the speed and the power when I go into my full sumo. Works best for my leverages, but I am using some of the cues that Ed Cohen mentioned in those videos. You also see me trying not to pass out. That's why I'm taking so much time in between each rep, because I was absolutely gassed at this point. And even though the weight wasn't very heavy, I just had almost no energy left. So, but I am excited to work a little bit more on some sumo form. And if you thought I was done with my working reps and sets, you were incorrect. I had 3 AMRAPs close grip with 335. I did a set of 7, another set of 7, and then a set of 4. So I figured since I dropped 3 reps, it's a good time to be done with any sort of tricep work for the day. These felt pretty good, though I did have some grinding in my right shoulder. I've had a shoulder surgery already on that. Back in, gosh, I don't even know, that's probably 8 years ago now. And so I've always tried to be a little careful with my shoulders. I do not want to have another labrum surgery. That was a hassle and lost a ton of strength and size. Really, any sort of injury like that is going to put you way behind. I followed this up. I did not do the hip thrusts that I had scheduled. Those are on my workout, but I find that those really tax my lower back and QL muscle and lead more to injury than to help with glute activation. So I just finished up with 5 sets of 20 each arm, so 200 reps, I guess, of croc rows. I did them a little bit more strict so I could retract the shoulder blade and the scapula. These really burn out my biceps, but they also will work my abs. And if I twist too much, I actually end up with some lower back pain on them. So a croc row, as it's supposed to be done, is really a full body movement where you're really pulling a lot of the weight up. These are a little bit more strict, working on kind of almost a hammer curl type motion with my biceps, but also throwing some of the lat in there to start the lift. When the weight goes down to the floor, I pull it up with my lat and my shoulder blades retracting first, and then I finish the lift with that bicep movement. And yeah, I did 5 sets of these, and overall it was a pretty good day. I was looking through, sometimes I'll just Google what the Bible says about various things, and I think this was what the Bible says about learning. And this was a really interesting one as I read this quote from Lamentations. It's good for one to bear the yoke of his or her youth, in their youth. And so what this means is it's good to work hard when you're young. And it's so you don't have to work hard when you're older. But I thought about this in terms of a training cycle, how hard the volume work is at the beginning of a training cycle, where at the end the intensity may be intimidating, but the work is not nearly as hard when you're going with those heavy weights. It just doesn't beat you up the same way. And in many ways it's more enjoyable. Less volume, higher weights sounds like more fun. But it is important to have those points in your training, especially kind of like off-season training, where you are working hard and doing a lot of volume. In any case, hope wherever you're at, you're doing well. Blessings.